audience to the April 19th, 2016 Parish Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Would you all please stand while Coach Williams says the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Dear Lord, we thank you for allowing us to see another blessed day. Thank you for life, good health, and strength. Most of all, we thank you for your suffering, dying, shedding blood for the remission of our sin. We just thank you, and thank you for all the blessings for which you allow us. And we pray for this board, we pray for this staff, we pray for those who suffer throughout this land. And we ask a special blessing of those who come seeking our help, that the Holy Spirit guide and lead us, that we might do that which is right in your sight. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christie, roll call, please.
Chair Elijah Gilreath.
Here.
Vice Chair Jake Porche.
Here.
Patricia Cobb.
Here.
Miss Julia Dickerson.
Here.
Miss Sharon Delicia is absent. Mr. Art Little.
Here.
Mr. Gary Navarre.
Here.
Mr. Kirk Smith.
Here.
Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
And Miss Betty Brown.
All righty. This is an 11-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless there is a tie. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone, state your name, address, and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak, other than the applicants, need to fill out a blue Request to Appear form located in the back of this room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there is a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allocated for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. Preliminary subdivision approval and zoning exceptions and variances are final tonight. The rezoning cases and the amendment to the amendments to Chapter 26 will go before the police jury for final action on April 21st, 2016. This meeting is being taped by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj.net. Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, DeQuincy, and Gillis. Channel 99 in Corliss and Grand Lake. Please turn off all electronic devices. And take appropriate action to approve the minutes of February 16, 2016 Planning and Zoning Board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been probably moved by Mr. Navarre, seconded by Ms. Patricia Cobb. All in favor?
Aye.
And also would like to recognize our police jury, Mr. Les Form here as well. Thank you for being here. Item number 21, which is case RZ 04014-16, a request by Norris C. Watt on the 1700 block of East Houston River Road, Ward 4, has been withdrawn. So if you're here for that case, it will not be heard this evening. Okay? Item number 6, take appropriate action on a request by Cooper Ridge Subdivision for preliminary subdivision approval to allow a single-family residential subdivision, 38 lots in the 5200 block of OJ Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
So moved.
Coach Williams, need a second.
Second.
Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This development is located in South Lake Charles and encompasses 9.5 acres.
to be divided into 38 lots. The largest lot is just over 13,400 square feet, while the smallest is approximately 6,600 square feet. The next two items on the agenda deal with a request to rezone from R2 mixed residential to R1 single-family residential and to vary the lot size and road frontage requirements as well as the front yard setback. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development is subject to an application for and/or compliance with an LPDES stormwater discharge permit, which may be required through the Department of Environmental Quality and the Calcasieu Parish Division of Planning and Development, that the development must be designed as a closed ditch drainage concept, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required in accordance with the parish codes, that the preliminary plat must be approved by the Division of Engineering prior to submittal of engineering plans, and that the final plat needs a statement regarding a homeowners association maintenance of open spaces.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? You're not, you applicant? Oh, you have anything to add? No. Okay, no problem. We have one card for against and two for general comments on all three items. So, Mr. Robert Whelan, you can come on up to the microphone, state your name and address and nature of your concern.
Thank you for listening to me. I'm Robert Whalen. I live on 3319 Julia Street. My property's right next to it. It has Whalen and my wife's name. And my concern is flooding. And I talked with Mr. Guy Brame, see if he could help us, and he had the same concern that we did. We have a lot of flooding in this area, especially on the corner of Benoit and South Prairie Lake Road. Also, we have some flooding on the end of our road on Julia Street during some rains. I guess before they added some 24-inch culverts, we would flood. The road would flood over with the water many times a year. But about a few years ago, they put some 24-inch culverts, which helped it a lot. But some other people still have flooding issues. And please understand, I built my house in 1981. We built it 24 inches, the slab 24 inches above the road. And since then, they've added gravel, and it was resurfaced with a hard surface, and also it was overlaid recently. So it's almost created a dam on my side of the road, because the water drains from the Copper subdivision down to Julia Street and Benoit Street. Now, I talked to Mr. Guy Brame, and he suggested that he thought the best solution for the drainage is if we could drain west and go to Big Lake Highway, because there's some large coulees, and just south of the Copper Ridge subdivision, there's a large drainage, a large canal. It's just that there's a hill there, like a ridge, and I think there's some gas lines going underneath there, so I don't know if they can go that way. I've talked to the engineers about that. Hence, what they did, they installed the 36-inch culverts going down South Prairie Lake Road, and they put some 24-inch culverts going around the cemetery. I had some drawings I wanted to show y'all. Can I hand these to you? I only have 5 or 6 of them. And you can see, I Googled one, and it shows the extent of the property they want to build on. And I'm not against the subdivision, and I've gone and talked to Josh, one of the planners, and it looks like it's a pretty subdivision. I'm concerned there's an awful lot of houses in that small an area, and I don't think I don't know of any property in that area that has that many houses, that type of density, except into the city when you go a few roads down into the city. So my concern is that the state states in here that it may, drainage impact analysis and traffic analysis may be required in accordance. I would urge y'all, please make that a must and make it a qualitative analysis, because this home flooding is a life-altering experience, and one of us has had that already several times. And I don't really want to go through that, because my house has never flooded, and if I lived in another 50 years, it probably wouldn't. But I'm very concerned about the drainage of this property. And they're supposed to put a big-sized road, which is nice, or whatever the size road. And I was hoping they could drain all the property to the road, and it's supposed to have a culvert, right? It's supposed to have culverts for all the property. So if they did that, that would solve my problem. But if they could drain the subdivision to the west to Big Lake Highway, that would solve everyone's problem that I know of. And that's what Mr. Guy Brame said.
All right.
And sir,
Anything else?
that's it. The
All right.
flooding is what I'm concerned about. I'm worried seriously.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Whalen? Yes, sir.
I have a question, I guess, direct towards the staff. Can you explain the process or the trigger that would determine whether a drainage impact analysis is done, and then what sort of in-house review is done before that trigger?
Well, we have specific criteria in the ordinance as to how the drainage system within the development is designed in the first place.
Right.
So basically, the engineer does his thing, and then he puts together drainage calculations that will either show that he's going to impact the surrounding area or that he is not going to impact the surrounding area. If those calculations show that he won't cause any negative impacts, then he can qualify for a waiver and not have to do the drainage impact analysis, which I would not recommend requiring the drainage impact analysis, because if those calculations come out the right way, the drainage impact analysis is just going to cost a few $1,000s to say the exact same thing that the drainage calculation said. Now, if the calculations do show that there's an issue, then the full-blown study is required, and the engineer would have to work closely with our department to resolve any issues before the engineering plan would ever be approved for construction, because the last thing we want to do is mess up any kind of improvements, especially that we've done recently.
So there will be, even though it won't be a drainage impact analysis, there will be studies, this will be engineered
Yes,
to show
that's
that it's
correct.
zero impact.
Yeah, it has to be engineered.
Sure.
No question.
Just,
Yeah.
just wanna make-
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes.
I talked with Mr. Guy Brame, and he was nice enough to explain. I thought it was the city, but it's the Gravity Drainage Board and the parish got together and they installed this 24-inch drainage that connects to the 36-inch lines that went around. It now goes around and the cemetery and drains our property, and it does very well. But sometimes that pipe completely overfills, and that back of that road at the end, the dead end where the cemetery is, does get flooded. Right now, that's what the 10 acres of wooded land there now. So changing it from 10 acres of wooded to mostly 10 acres of concrete and road, it's going to be a major, it's going to be a substantial. I don't see how they can drain all that land through that 24-inch culvert.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for letting me talk.
All right, Wes.
I was going to say, they may not be able to. It just is, the plan has not been engineered at this time. And so that's what's going to have to be done, is it will be engineered to make that determination. They may even lose some lots out of it because they may have to retain some of that water on site. We don't know that yet.
Right.
You want me to take all the general comments and then you'll come up after? You rather-
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Keisha Askew.
Okay, 5 minutes, I'll talk fast. I will be the person that this will impact the most.
Name and address, please.
The address, 3293 Benoit Road. Basically, I'm in a bowl, and so your drainage study is great. The issue is water comes from Julia, and I'm in the bowl, so all I do is get water. Doing a drainage is great. I'm in a flood zone X. I don't require flood zone. However, my neighbor flooded 17 times. You tore him down, rebuilt him, so you've displaced that water on me. So now I've flooded 7 times. After all the drainage and improvements with the cemetery, I flooded over 5.5 inches in my whole house in the last 2 years. When you build up, it's only going to drain on me. The Big Lake drainage going to Big Lake, that's not going to happen because of the pipes and the gas lines. So we flow north, but we should be flowing southwest. I had paid for insurance for 28 years and paid $100. After 18 years of living in that home, I now pay over $1,000 a year, and I flooded 7 times. City and parish work really hard for new developments. I'm all for new developments. However, the drainage is not a thought process until after the fact. We added 77 units on South Prion Lake Road and no extra drainage, but I gained inches. Rebuilding neighbors caused my water to be displaced. I sit in a bowl and I can't get out. My house was built in the late 70s, early 80s. When it rains, you put on windshield wipers. I pick up shoes out of a closet. I pick up Christmas gifts off the floor. I pick up furniture, and I put everything on pots or in cans. I'm just asking that the retention pond must be a must, or I'm under. I can't. When it rained yesterday, we have 3 sunk pumps in the back of my yard. We make sure those pumps are pushing to the front. The back is just a lake. I can't do anything. My garage is under. When you get an inch at your house, I'm already under. So I'm just asking for please help us on drainage.
Thank you. Aaron Bentley.
My name is Erin Bentley, and I own 2 lots on Julia Street. It's cleared lots. My husband and I plan
Give us
on
the
building.
address, please.
I don't actually have that address. Do you want my home address?
Give us, yeah, home.
4948 S Westridge Park, which is right in front of that property as well, so we're very close. We've cleared the lots. We've hauled in 16 loads of dirt on this cleared property, and it still looks like a lake. 2 years ago, they put in the culverts through the cemetery, which helped a lot. But it's still, when you go back there after 16 loads of dirt on flood zone X, it still looks like a lake. So it's all the same concern. We definitely haven't flooded like the Askews, but we're wondering, okay, whenever we build a house, how much higher are we going to have to build that house up so that we won't flood? And I'm all about the development, because if we never build there, our home value or our property value is going to go up with this development, so we're for it. But we really want the drainage issue to be addressed before they put 38 homes on 9 acres. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. And you, Mr. Trahan? Okay, what is your name? Come on up. You're the developer. This is, okay, what's your name?
Jeremy Snyder with JC Homes and Development.
Okay.
I'm at 3517 Burton Lane.
All right.
If you look on the plat, the open area in the front, kind of on the southwest corner of the development, on the bottom left there, that's going to be, we're going to have a retention area upon there, and we're going to do a zero impact on the subdivision. And I have my engineer here with Cypress Group, and he can explain a little bit on the zero impact if that's okay with y'all.
Is it a mic for retention?
No, talking from the audience. You can bring them up.
Good afternoon. My name is John Lowry with the Cypress Engineering Group in Lake Charles. And
Address, please.
Sorry?
I didn't give it an address.
5135 Highway 27 South.
All right.
Okay. We're here to ask for a we need to move forward with the preliminary engineering to figure out detention pond size, if it is required, the size that's required, retention if needed. None of that study has been done yet, the preliminary study or the drainage impact, and depending on the findings of the initial study, we will, as a member stated earlier, proceed and do a drainage impact study. there sounds like they almost certainly will need some type of detention pond or subsurface detention. And we're asking for, I forget the word, I'm sorry, it's been a while, but preliminary subdivision approval, so we can get started on that. Conditional approval is what I'm trying to think of. And if the results come back where they can't build it or can't be done, our findings will indicate that.
Any questions for any of these two gentlemen? Yeah, you want to speak? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Nothing else? Ms. Christie, roll call, please.
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Mr. Porsche,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Navarre,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
all in favor.
Okay, it passes. Item number 7, take appropriate action on case RZ 03012-16, a request by Robert Trahan to rezone from mixed residential R2 to single-family residential R1 to allow a single-family residential development, Copper Ridge subdivision in the 5200 block of OJ Road in Ward 3. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Ms. Porsche and
I second it.
Ms. Dickerson seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
Although the proposed use is actually allowed in R2 mixed residential zoning, the developers would prefer to have the more restrictive zoning put into place, so that's why they requested the R1. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that this request be granted.
Okay. Any questions? Does the developer have anything to add more? Okay. On the same property that we spoke of earlier. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, passes. Item number 8, take appropriate action on case VA 03015-16, a request by Robert Trahan for a variance to decrease the lot size requirement. We require 7,500 feet, requesting 6,616.46 square feet to decrease the public road frontage requirement. Required 60 feet, requesting 53 feet, and to decrease the front yard setback requirement, required 30 feet, requesting 20 feet in the 5200 block of OJ Road in Ward 3. We'll entertain a motion to approve. Ms. Cobb moves. Have a second.
Second.
Mr. Navarre seconded. Ms. Wallace.
I just wanted to remind you, we mentioned it last month, but these types of requests are becoming more and more common, especially near city limits such as this. I want to point out that the overall density of the subdivision calculates out to 10,800 square feet per dwelling. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted.
All right. Does the developer have anything else to add? We do have the same cards, and I apologize. You also put on this one as well. Did you want to speak again, Ms. Askew? Please come on.
The two gentlemen that spoke, one said there might be a retention pond and one said there would be. Is it yes or no?
Wouldn't it depend on the study?
Yes. They would have to do the drainage calculations and the engineering design before that would be determined.
When you do that study, do you pull homes that have flooded in the area, or is it just engineering? Because we are one of the highest elevations in the city, but if you'll go down Benoit Road, when you hit the stop sign, I'm in the bowl, you know.
I'm not an engineer. Their engineer is here if y'all wanted to ask him, but I would tend to think that they do a lot of mathematical, scientific calculations, but they do take into consideration the topography of the area and historical information.
Ms. Porsche?
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal is to have zero impact for this new subdivision, to have zero impact on the surrounding areas around it. So this subdivision, whatever the impervious surface would be, to be able to retain that, whether it be through culverts or through retention ponds, to not run off and adversely affect the surrounding areas. So it would be like, in effect, that it wasn't there. If it's zero impact.
I do
And so
understand that.
if it's determined that it does impact, then that's when the drainage impact analysis, the future studies. It's important, I think, this is just step one in the process.
Right, but
After
you-
this is, multiple studies and engineering and permits and approvals. This is, we're a land use board, and although I do appreciate, your condition, and I do, I hate that for you, honestly, on a personal level. But, we're determining land use, and then we have to trust that the next steps in the process are going to do their due diligence to determine that so you guys aren't adversely affected.
I do appreciate that. With Westridge and the 77 new homes that came in, I can't take a centimeter, and knowing that I can't take a centimeter, all of that water there is going to be displaced. I understand that, but just don't forget me. I'm in a bowl and I can't get out.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Whalen, did you want to have anything more to add?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm not familiar with the procedures and all that, but I was curious. Mr. Joss said that there was going to be a study done, but I'm not. See, I used to be an engineer too, but I retired, and I used to figure flow rate through conduit and pipes and everything. So is there a way I can find out or have some input or just get some information from these analysis or these studies?
Well, that would be working with the developer. I imagine that's really not our board. As Mr. Porche said, we're land use. I mean, that engineering goes to the engineering department. And so the engineer is here if you would like to speak with him.
Well, if he would like to provide us with his contact information, we could give him the
Thank you.
information that's turned in that our engineering team would review.
Okay.
It's all public records.
Oh, okay. I don't know where that's publicized, but that'd be great. I really would appreciate that. Okay.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Erin Bentley, do you have anything more to add? Okay. All right. Any other questions, board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, it passes. Item number 9, take appropriate action on case VA 08-12-16, a request by Thomas Rubio for a variance to allow a third manufactured home on one lot at 5747 River Road in Ward 8. I will entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
So move.
Dickerson moves. Coach Williams seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the LeBlue Settlement area and encompasses 24 acres of agricultural zone land. Currently on the property are 2 manufactured homes being used as family residences. The petitioner's manufactured home is located in a park right now, and he would like to relocate it to this site, but to do so, a variance is needed for the third manufactured home. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, and that the manufactured home must be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? All righty, no blue cards. Anyone have a question on the board? All righty, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, it passes. Item number 10, take appropriate action on case VA 07-013-16, a request by Kurlwinder Singh for a variance to allow a driveway to exceed maximum width, allowed 40 feet, requesting 60 feet, in the 2400 block of Toomey Road in Ward 7. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Coach move, Mr. Art Little seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Toomey area and encompasses 2.2 acres of commercially zoned land. As per a recent approval by the board, the petitioner plans to install diesel pumps and a canopy on this lot. Excuse me. To accommodate the truck traffic, the petitioner has requested a variance on the driveway width. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted.
All right, thank you. Mr. Singh, you have anything to add?
Yes, sir. My name is Kulwinder Singh. The address is 2482 Toomey Road in the Wenton. So we requested the 2 driveway. We have driveway, but requested to, well, we have 40 feet. We need 20 feet more.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Singh? All righty, and we have no blue cards? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, it passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 11, take appropriate action on case VA 07-014-16, a request by KP Thing for a variance to allow a driveway to exceed maximum width, allowed 40 feet, requesting 45 feet, at 2482 Toomey Road in Ward 7. I entertain a motion to approve.
Move.
Mr. Art Little moves, Mr. Navarro seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is just north of the property that was included in the previous request. This encompasses 2.3 acres of commercially zoned land. There is a convenience store at this site, and to accommodate traffic movement, the petitioner has requested a variance on the width of the driveway. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted.
All right. You would like to add anything more? Is this
Yes.
yours as well? Okay. State your name and your address once more, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Kulwinder Singh. I'm in the owner in the KP10. Address is 2482 Toomey Road and the Winton. So we have request on the other side in the driveway, 40 feet to the 45 feet.
Okay. Any questions from Mr. Singh? Being none, any blue cards? Being none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, it passes.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm. Item number 12, take appropriate action on case EX 01-010-16, a request by Michael A. McClure for an exception to allow a borrow pit, .59 acres, at 3617 Cypress Lake Drive in Ward 1. I'll entertain a motion to approve stipulation.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb, Mr. Porsche seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Moss Bluff area and encompasses 5 acres of mixed residential zone land. If the request is approved, 85% of the dirt would be removed from the site. Upon completion, the pond would be stocked and be for personal use only. Because the surrounding land uses are residential and agricultural and minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulation: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122 1F4 of the Parish Code of Ordinances.
All righty. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Okay, any blue cards? Being none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, passes. Item number 13, take appropriate action on case EX 04-013-16, a request by Cross and Manigan Lumber Company Limited for an exception to allow light commercial development, agricultural business office at 1900 North Beggars Parkway in Ward 4. Entertain a motion to approve stipulation.
Second.
Mr. Little moves, Ms. Cobb seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located north of Sulphur and encompasses 2.5 acres of agricultural zone land. Should the request be approved, the petitioners plan to construct a 6,000 square foot building to be used as an office for Kraus and Manigan Lumber Company. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development.
Okay. The applicant like to add anything to the presentation? Any blue cards? All right, no blue cards. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, case 13 passes. Item number 14, take appropriate action on case EX 04-014-16, a request by John Moore for an exception to allow light commercial development, personal service shop, or hair salon at 628 West Houston River Road in Ward 4. Entertain a motion to approve the stipulation.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb moves.
Second.
Mr. Little seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located north of Sulphur and encompasses nearly 10 acres of agricultural zone land. Currently on the property is the petitioner's home. The petitioner has moved a building on the lot to serve as a hair salon. The business will have 4 chairs and 4 employees, which is the maximum allowed by the state. In order to obtain a permit and an occupational license, the petitioner must receive a zoning exception. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of engineering or technical considerations.
All right. Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff presentation? All righty. Any blue cards? No, that's not that one. Okay. No blue cards. Okay. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, 14 passes. Item number 15. Take appropriate action on case EX 02-015-16, a request by Excalibur Land Company, LLC, for a exception to allow a bar pit, 14 acres, in a 1500 block of Nick Martone Road in Ward 2. Entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb moves.
Second.
Ms. Navarre seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Homewood area and encompasses 80 acres of agricultural zone land. If approved, 75% of the dirt would be removed from the site. Upon completion, the pond would be used for private use only. Because the surrounding land uses are residential and agricultural and minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122-1F4 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and that the use of Amico Road shall not be permitted as a hauling route.
Okay. Is there anything the applicant would like to add to the staff presentation? Any blue cards? No blue cards. Any questions, comments by the board? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, case 15 passes. Item number 16, take appropriate action on case EX 04-016-16, a request by William Bolam for an exception to allow a bed and breakfast home at 5290 Shoe Peak Road in Ward 4. Entertain a motion to approve stipulation.
So moved.
Mr. Porsche, Mr. Little seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Carlos area and encompasses 34 acres of mixed residential zone land. Currently, 2 homes are on the property, with one serving as the petitioner's residence and the other serving as a family member's residence. The petitioner would like to construct a 3rd home as a new residence for his use. Upon completion of that home, the petitioner will convert the existing home into a bed and breakfast. To move forward with this plan, a zoning exception is needed to do the bed and breakfast at this location. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations.
All right. Thank you. Is there anything that the developer would like to add to this staff's presentation? Okay. Any blue cards? Any questions or comments by the board? Being none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, item number 16 passes. Item number 17, take appropriate action on case EX 04-17-16, a request by Carla Joe LLC for an exception to allow residential development, manufactured home at 4253 Highway 27 South in Ward 4. Entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
So moved.
Coach Williams moves. Ms. Cobb seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Sulphur and encompasses a ½ acre of commercially zoned land. Currently on the property is marshland, tobacco, and beer. The petitioner would like to place a 14 by 60 manufactured home east of the business, which would be to the rear. This structure will serve as a residence for a caretaker of the property. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
All right. Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Come on up, sir. State your name and address, please.
Thank you for listening to me. My name is Arthur Broussard. I live at 2782 Maureen Drive, Sulphur, Louisiana. And the sole purpose of this is like she had stated very well, is for maintenance on the property. It is commercial property, is right on Highway 27 South, and to have security. I have a worker there. She gets off between 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night, and people would feel much secure to know that someone is there, right there, in case something can happen. And I don't see anything wrong with this. It's fenced in the back. There is the subdivision that is behind me. There is a service road for the other businesses, commercial businesses that is associated, along Highway 27. And so my request is to allow, a brand-new manufactured home to be located on my commercial property site. That's what I'd like to see happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Broussard, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Bless.
Any questions for Mr. Broussard? Board? All righty. I have a couple of cards. Mr. Police Director Les Farnham, come up.
Good evening. My name is Les Farnham, 312 Oakley Drive in Sulphur, Louisiana. I'm the police juror that represents this area. And first off, I want to thank all of you for your service to the parish. Y'all do a wonderful job up here, and I know y'all will make the right decision on this. This particular piece of property is commercial. It abuts a very nice neighborhood that is a very low-key neighborhood. In my opinion, there is no need for a residential trailer to go in on this piece of property. Just last year, there was a residential property on the other side of that fence that was denied commercial use of that property. And I guess the main thing we aim for up here is consistency in what we do. So there's a few other items. Parking is in that piece of property with residential could be a distraction to that neighborhood. And I guess one of the biggest problems is, once you allow the residential occupancy on that commercial property, and the need for a security person goes away, there's no way to police whether he just starts renting this thing out and using it for a purpose that wasn't stated here tonight. And as we all know, it's nearly impossible to police that activity on a piece of property. You don't know who's living in it. You don't know if he's renting it. A lot of things can go wrong. So I'm here to ask that y'all deny the occupancy, the residential occupancy on that piece of property. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, sir.
Have any questions?
Yeah, any questions for Mr. Farnham? Okay, thank you. Yep. Mr. Bill Sellers, please. You good? All righty, thank you. Does the applicant want to add anything more?
Yes, again, what I was talking about, I understand what the gentleman was talking about. In that subdivision itself, a year ago plus, there was a gentleman that wanted to put he did put up a building for, he wanted to it's a flooring company. Now, had my business been inside the subdivision in that area, surely, I would not be standing up here before you folks, pleading for something like this. But being that my business is, and it is stated too, if you look at the paperwork on it, it is even zoned to sell mobile homes, manufactured homes at one time. Of course, we don't do that. It is a convenience store. And so I was just looking at all the rules and regulations and what in the paperwork that I was allowed to do. And that's why I'm here tonight, to see, if possible, if y'all can see my way to understand what I'm talking about and have this done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I got a question for Mr. Broussard.
Okay.
It was stated that this property may be rented out. Is that a fact? He's trying to rent it?
Not as long as I own the business. Not as long as I own it. I'm the sole owner of this business, my wife and I, and it's, like I said, it's just sole purpose to have someone there for maintenance, upkeeps, and security and stuff like that, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome, sir, thank you.
Any other questions?
Question.
Sir?
Question for the staff. As this would be, if this would be approved, if the business would go away, would the residential, could someone just live there and it then become kind of a residential zoning allowed without the business there?
Suppose y'all could impose a stipulation that would tie it to the business.
You could do that, I mean, but the property itself, the zoning of the property will not change. I mean, what you're doing is allowing for an exception to allow for a residential unit, specifically a mobile home for someone to live in.
Right.
Now, we don't regulate whether it's rental or not. There's no way to do that. But, I mean, if you grant this, it would be for this mobile home or a mobile home to be placed there for residential purposes, for someone to live there. But the zoning, the actual zoning of the property would not change.
Correct.
It's going to remain commercial.
But it would set a precedent to allow residential development
I think
on commercial property along that street. I mean, if the next person comes, has a
I
similar.
mean, certainly we would have to look at it, yeah. I
Sure.
mean, we would look to see whether or not we have, and just like we do with any case,
Sure.
we would look to see if there's anything that has been approved similar to this in that general area. And, but, I mean, we do look at each individual case as it comes through.
Right. Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Mr. Navarro?
Could we specify that as long as Mr. Broussard is the one who owns it, if he sells the property, then the mobile home has to go?
You could certainly do that. You could make it non-transferable to the next person.
All right, is that something you want to do? Something you want to do?
Yes, I'd like to put a specification, an amendment, or whatever you call it.
Okay. Mr. Farmer, you had something else?
Yes, I'd like to add to it. The character of this area, I've been all up and down that area, and there's no other residential occupancy on commercial property in that area. As far as I know, there's not been any break-ins, there's not been any crime activity that would warrant something like this. It's a personal preference, and it doesn't fit the character of the area. And I know you can put the stipulation on them that it's not transferable, but there's no way to police it as long as he owns that property. If he never sells the property, 100 different people could live in that trailer over time, and there's no way to police it. I mean, we've been through this on time and time and time again in lots of areas, and there's just absolutely no way to police it. And so once you open the door, you can't get the door shut again. So that's my concern, and that's the neighbors' concerns that are representing that area. So I really request that y'all deny this. It's the right thing to do for that area.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions by the board?
Do we have an amendment on the?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you want to pose that as a true amendment, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I propose an amendment that as long as Mr. Broussard owns the property, the trailer can stay there, but if he sells it, it has to be removed within 60 days.
Okay. So we vote on the amendment?
His second.
Okay, do I have a second on that amendment?
I second.
Okay, Coach Williams seconded. All in favor? Well, let's do a roll call vote on that. Sorry. Christie, roll call vote, please.
Okay, we roll calling for this.
This
the
amendment, just amendment.
Mr. Forshey,
Yes.
Mr. Navarre,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Ms. Cobb,
Yes.
6 for, 1 against.
Okay, so the amendment passes, and now we can vote on the actual.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
Are we still in discussion?
Yes.
My only comment is, I know he would like to have it there for a convenient purpose, but across the street, 100 yards down, there is a mobile home park. Down the road the other way, there's a mobile home park. So they can put this mobile home relatively close to their business if they have emergency needs or whatnot. Because there is areas right adjacent to this that they can put that thing to be there. I don't see any difference between putting a residential home on a commercial as we did not allow a commercial put on a residential across the fence. So I think this is something we really need to think about, and because there's other businesses both directions that could do the same thing, come up here and ask for putting a residence or a mobile home or something on their business. There's new businesses coming in all the time, and that very option can come up more than once. And up and down that road, like Mr. Farnham said, there is not any mobile homes or residences inside these commercial properties. Thank you.
All right. All right, so we're ready to vote on any other questions, comments? Okay, Ms. Christie, we're going to roll call vote. As amended, yes.
Mr. Porsche?
No.
Mr. Navarre?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Ms. Dickerson?
No.
Mr. Little?
No?
Mr. Smith?
No.
Ms. Cobb?
No.
1 for and 6 against.
Item 17 fails. Case number 18. Take appropriate action on case RZ 03011-16, a request by Osprey Lakes Development LLC to rezone from single-family residential R1 to recreational vehicle park or RVP to a live recreational vehicle park at 7143 Big Lake Road in Ward 3. Entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Mr. Art Little moves, Ms. Cobb seconded. Ms. Wallace, please.
This property is located in South Lake Charles and encompasses 14 acres of land. This project has come before the board a number of times since 2008. In previous requests, a 122-space RV park was planned for the property immediately north of this parcel. Due to wetlands considerations, the plan was modified and now includes the use of the property in question. The current proposal is to allow a 93-space RV park with 76 of those spaces to be located on this parcel. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that permitting is subject to DOTD approval, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code, that RV park model types are prohibited, and that approval from Gravity Drainage District Number 4 of Ward 3 be obtained prior to permitting.
All righty. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentations? Okay. No blue cards? Do you have any questions from the board, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, case number 18 passes. Item number 19, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-012-16, a request by North Bay Properties LLC to rezone from agriculture A1 to light industrial I1 to allow a temporary workforce housing facility pending future approval of zoning exception at 2926 Highway 90 West in Ward 4. Entertaining a motion to approve stipulations. Ms. Cobb moves, Mr. Porsche seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
I apologize, but I lost my comments on the computer, so just bear with me. The property is located west of Sulphur and encompasses 28 acres of land. The petitioners are proposing a workforce housing facility here. The total number of beds would be 972, and those would be divided up among 4-person units that would house 632 people, and 5-person units that would house 340 people. The development would include an office, reception building, a recreation building, a guardhouse, a coin-operated laundry, and a commercial laundry facility. I do want to point out on the zoning map that the front portion of the property, where the recreation facility and the kitchen and the office are located, that property is already zoned light industrial, so all that we're talking about is the northern 28 acres. The proposed development will provide a consolidated location for workforce housing that will minimize the impacts of the construction phase of industrial expansion in the area. This housing facility will increase efficiency of vehicle traffic. This type of housing is a sustainable solution for the parish because it will have minimal impact on the project site, and it will prevent overbuilding of more permanent housing structures. Because the development will be temporary, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis must be submitted and approved by the Division of Planning and Development and the Division of Engineering and Public Works prior to permit issuance, that the rezoning is for North Bay properties and is non-transferable, that a landscape plan must be submitted, that a natural buffer is maintained to the maximum extent possible, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that the Division of Planning and Development be provided with contract abstracts with customers within 30 days of execution, that the pods must be removed within 6 months of North Bay Properties' contract end date with its customer, and that the development is subject to a development agreement between North Bay Properties and the police jury outlining the conditions of approval for rezoning and future exception, as well as any mitigation measures identified by the TIA and the DIA.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? Staff's presentation. Well, please state your name and address the nature of your concern.
Yes, good evening. My name is Keith Janice at 2926 Highway 90, Sulphur. The main stressing points we have here is just for security, the safety, and the support to the community.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Do we need to plug in the laptop, Tom?
It's actually plugged in.
Okay, so you can utilize that to show the pictures.
I'm just wondering if it's going to pop up on the screen for us.
Yeah,
There we go. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Here's actually
You can
the
go ahead.
layout to the facility here. You can kind of take a look from Highway 90 standpoint, down here at the bottom, working inwards to where the units will actually be placed. And we have, I lost the other pages on here. Let's see. How do we make it go back to the other documents? Is it on here?
Tom?
Okay, yeah, he's good to have on staff. To go back to the call there. Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, perfect. All right. Just need the IT guy in your pocket. Here's actually a rendering here what the site will look like.
I think you can use the little arrow, the arrows.
Okay,
down at the bottom.
yeah. This house right here is actually where we're occupied. We're living in this house here. This be the street turning in, parking area here on the sides. The main gate to come in would be a little over 500 feet off Highway 90 to not impede traffic. Those cars could travel in, and your check-in, your welcome center would be here to your right, or to your left, and your guard, your security would be here on the right at the gate. Here's just another general overlook. This is at the far north side looking south to the property. More parking, your pond, and all the trees. We're going to try to keep as much trees as we can in here in this area. Just another general look of the roads and the units itself. Basically just a general layout again of the facility here. Here you can look at the Welcome Center here on the left. That's where everyone would have to check in with security and get badges for the rooms and for your there is actually a gate here, and all this is fenced. The whole area is fenced, so try to keep out everyone else. Just a general look inside the rooms here. One bed, little work area, TV on the wall, and that's our house there. But this is the very front entrance here. When you travel in, there'll be a gated here to drive through, and your main gate will be back another 500 feet. And there's the overall look. That's it.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Janice? All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have a card on a Mr. Ronnie Bowers. Please come up. State your name and address and nature of your concern, please.
Hello, my name is Ronnie Bowers. I live at 1729 White Acres Drive, which is just about 300 yards east of this facility. I live in White Acres subdivision. Our concern in the area and the community is the fact that they're going to put almost 1,000 people in this small amount of space and impacting all of us that live there. If you look back last year, the same type facility was turned down 1.5 miles to 2 miles west of this facility, which would have had an impact on the area, but a less impact that this is going to have. We have, within a 1 mile radius of where this park is, we have approximately 500 people living in a 1 mile radius of this. So we don't know what kind of people are going to be living there. We don't know how they're going to be vetted, who's going to do the vetting, and we don't know anything about this company. We tried doing some research on North Bay, and we can't find any information on them. So, as far as their experience in workers' housing, I would like to see how their other housing developments, workers' housing, have worked out, and how they've been handled, over the years. But if you look at the trailer park that was there, it was in bad shape. I mean, there was trailers there that were in really bad shape. They had some bad apples living in there. I won't disagree with any of that. But you were looking at about 75 people that lived in that trailer park at that time. Now you're looking at 900 to 1,000 people living in the same amount of space. So, which is, if you look at it, that's about a third of the population of Vinton, Louisiana, that is going to be living just in that one small 28, 30 acre tract of land. So our question is, how is that going to be handled? Who's going to be handling the policing of the people coming in there? We have a lot of children that live in this area, small children. There's lots of small children up and down our road, and these people are within walking distance of that. Now, we don't know what their history is, but out of 900 to 1,000 people, you're going to have a certain percentage of bad apples in that group. I guarantee you that, and I don't think anybody can contest that. one of the other things that I would like to say is some of the other worker camps that were denied in certain areas moved into the industrial zone and were welcomed. There was not one person opposing, and would not be anybody opposing any of these worker villages inside the industrial zone. So, I mean, if they would move there, I don't think anybody in here, anybody from our area would oppose that. So, you know, I guess my question is, why is this being brought up again, since the last worker village was already turned down less than 6 months ago and moved to into the industrial zone? So, I mean, that's one thing I would like for y'all to consider tonight. And, you know, another issue is transportation. They haven't mentioned how they're going to handle transportation in and out of here. On the pictures they show buses hauling people, but they haven't mentioned that. But still, even if you have buses hauling 1,000 people out, 2 shifts a day, you're looking at, you know, 25, 30 buses a day pulling in and out of that area. And like I said, we have a lot of homes around there, a lot of nice homes, and we have homes right across the street. We have homes next door to it, and like I said, our subdivision is right next to it as well. It is in between 2 subdivisions, right in the middle of 2 subdivisions. And one of the things in the application, one of the things in y'all's application says that there has to be the natural buffer zone is to be maintained to the maximum extent possible. Well, if you look back on the pictures of their property, on the actual shots of their property is cleared out from it, and it's been cleared for years, from property line to property line. They have no buffer. They have no tree buffer. The property on the east and west of them does not belong to them. It belongs to other people. So if they go in and clear that, it's wide open. The whole area around that camp would be wide open.
Mr. Feathers, about half your time if anybody else wants to talk on this.
Okay,
topic
all right,
too.
okay. I just want to hit on a few more things, and I'm not sure how many of y'all are aware of it, but this same company owns 40 acres of property right across the street from this location. So our concern with them rezoning this to light industrial, if that is approved, then there's not much that would stop them from rezoning that and putting another, 1,000 people across the street from that. So they do own 40 acres on each side of Highway 90. And that's probably all that I've got, other than my question for them on how their other worker villages have worked out for them, and kind of give us some insight on that, on what we would have there. But we would like, if it does pass, I would like to see stipulations that the property be fenced, completely fenced all the way around. I've had people try to break into my shop through those woods, coming in there, and I had to put a security system on my shop to protect my property. So that's the only thing I would like to add to that. And I appreciate y'all letting me talk. I really do. And if y'all have any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer any of them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bowers. Is there any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments by the board? Anything you'd like to add? About it with y'all. Okay. The applicant, if you'd like to come back up and things.
While he's walking up, I did want to point out that we received an email from a woman that was opposed to the previous request further down Highway 90, and she submitted to us the same petition that she used in the previous case to illustrate that the people in the area were opposed.
That was my next question, because I was looking at and it said Krause and Manigan, and there's nothing on this request here for Krause and Manigan.
Right.
And I was also looking on the thing, there's people from Jennings and Iota that signed the petition.
I just wanted to point out that we had received that today.
All right. Mr. Janice?
My name is Ernest Sanders, 1302 Benmar Overlook, Baytown, Texas. North Bay is a LLC. I own half, his dad owns the other half. So we buy property. We do own 40 acres across the street. We bought it because it was a dirt pit, been permitted by y'all for a dirt pit. We are going to build a fence all the way around it. And yes, sir, we never have personally made a employee lodge, but we're bringing in the largest, best company that does that, and that's Target Logistics.
What's the name of this? Target, you said?
Target Logistics.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Keith, Janice, Troy here, he's one of the global leaders in employee lodges. They have 8,600 beds in the U.S. They manage, cater, secure, and we're bringing them in as a teammate here to ensure the best possible employee lodge that's in Calcasieu Parish. So just for a second, I'd like to introduce Troy here.
Good evening, Troy Shrink, 2170 Buckthorn Place, Suite 400, The Woodlands, Texas, 77380. Thank you very much for the opportunity to visit this evening. I certainly appreciate the remarks made by the gentleman earlier regarding several really important factors. One is the social impact of workforce housing in any community, but particularly in his community. We take that very seriously. I also think that his comments regarding the traffic impact are very real, and we have contemplated and given much consideration to the traffic impact. And I will talk a little bit briefly about our plan as it stands today. Of course, it's dynamic as we learn more about the workforce in the area and what the requirements are by the companies that are currently under industrial expansion. With that said, I will note, just for the record, the company is Target Logistics. We currently own and operate approximately 20 properties across North America, totaling approximately 8,400 beds, by which we own and operate 100% of those facilities with 100% of our direct employees. The company's been in existence since 1978. We are currently the largest in the U.S. if you measure it by the number of beds in the U.S. I also appreciated the gentleman's comments about population and density, whereby a facility of this size of 1,000 employees and or residents will double the size of the population in the area. We currently operate 11 properties in the North Dakota region supporting oil and gas and mining activities in that area, whereby now we're characterized as one of the largest cities in North Dakota, just in a little town called Tioga, where we supported the construction of a gas plant owned and operated by Hess Corporation. We've been invited to the table by North Bay to help support their project on this 20-acre site. We anticipate, first of all, this will be much just like our 20 other properties, a professionally managed and operated facility by our direct employees and leadership on site who will live on site with the residents. So let me talk a little bit about social impact, because I think the gentleman's comments are very real, and particularly his notes about children. First and foremost, the security and safety of the community is number one. Secondly, the safety and security of our residents, number two. And number three, the safety and security of our employees. So how do we do that? Our model is specifically based on supporting oil and gas, mining, and construction of industrial expansion throughout North America. Our programming is specifically geared to that type of resident who works and operates in these areas. Largely remote areas, but also in areas where you see rapid expansion. So we have designed with our partners on the engineering side a facility that will be geared toward that programming, which includes 24 hours, 7 days a week, unarmed, full-time security supervision. We will have a full perimeter fence with a welcome center and a check-in to ensure that only authorized personnel will enter the facility at any time and leave the facility at any time. Let me be clear that this is not an open facility. The term camp tends to be very derogatory. This is an employee-sponsored, or rather a company-sponsored workforce lodge. Company-sponsored, meaning that the companies that are growing and expanding in this area, building the major capital projects that we all are well aware of, will sponsor financially and vet each and every one of their employees for our program in workforce housing. We also will work with their Human Resources Department and their HS&E department on the code of conduct. We have a code of conduct well documented. I think I might have a slide here that will bullet point several factors, including but not limited to no drugs, no alcohol, no firearms, no cohabitation at any time in the facility. We also will adopt through the companies, either through owners or contractors in the local area, we will adopt their code of conduct policies and enforce, not standalone, but with them, their code of conduct policy in the facility. Our culture is one of safety and security, and just like the companies that operate in this area, it's not a 12-hour culture, it's a 24-hour culture. The importance of safety off the site, off location in our facility is just as important as it is on the site while they're turning wrenches, wiring electrical, or welding a fitting.
About 30 seconds for your 10 minutes.
They engage with us specifically to drive, number one, safety of their worker, that they're more productive the next day, and that they're the most loyal workforce that they can recruit and retain in this marketplace by using our program, by which is a temporary facility which we can relocate after the capital projects are complete. I'm happy to share more about our capabilities at another time. However, I would request that you consider the deep experience that we have as a leader in the industry, and that we move forward with approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Coach Williams?
I got one question. If this is approved, how you respond to gentleman's request for fencing this area completely?
100% comply with the request. That was the initial plan as well. Very difficult to articulate on the site plan, but it will be just like all of our facilities throughout North America. Several reasons for that. Safety and security of all the people that we've spoken of, both inside and outside the facility, but some obvious practical reasons, including vector control, critters, etc.
Thank you.
May I comment on the barrier, the natural barrier to the maximum extent? There was a comment made by the gentleman.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. We anticipate that along the front portion of Highway 90, the potential of berming from a landscape side of things. We will comply with a landscape plan, a berming plan along the front side of 90 to shield some of the visible aesthetic aspects of the Workforce Lodge.
Thank you. Ms. Wallace?
I just wanted to point out that the staff recommendation does not include a stipulation to fence the perimeter. So if you all wanted to include that as a stipulation, y'all would need to handle that.
But is that in the plan? Is that in this drawing?
I don't believe so, no.
Is, you mentioned about contracts. Is this going to be built before contract or dependent upon contract?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we anticipate, this 956 capacity is estimated demand at this point. We anticipate in this area that it's anywhere between 10 and 12,000 of estimated demand, with 1,000 being a fraction of that. To answer your question directly, Mr. Landry, we anticipate moving forward with the construction of the lodge while we concurrently pursue commercial agreements with company sponsors.
Okay. Mr. Porsche?
I would like to move to amend the motion to include a privacy fence all four sides to the security fence, privacy fence.
Second it.
Just to make sure that we put that on the record. It seems open-ended at this point, correct?
All right. So we do have an amendment to add a stipulation on security fence surrounding the property, and it's been properly seconded by Mr. Williams. Any questions, any discussion? Yes.
I had one question. You didn't mention transportation.
Thank you very much. I think I ran out of time.
I'll take,
I'll take 30 seconds if I can. So this is a very good question. Obviously, one of the stipulations is the DIS, I'm sorry, the TIS or TIA, and we will meet that requirement on the traffic impact study. The initial plan and the feedback that we've gotten commercially from some of the companies that we've been in contact with is that there is a need for some level of busing. What we have found in our current operations to date amongst the 20 properties is that about 50% of that population will require busing. You have if you look at the resident mix, you're going to have senior project managers, engineers. Some of these gentlemen or women require their own fleet vehicles. There will be, we have one-to-one parking per the requirement. We'll also have bus parking on site as well, along with bus shelters and bus turnouts that will accommodate the bus transportation to and from location. The gentleman was fairly accurate in his peak estimate of 20 to 25 buses on a per-day basis, probably twice a day. That's peak. We anticipate likely somewhere in the neighborhood of half of that, just based on population and historical data that we have and what companies have indicated at this point. I will note also that many of these companies have also engaged with busing companies outside of the scope of housing and services, in that they will provide their own busing transportation, for which we may not be included in part of that. But we will provide the facility, the design, the infrastructure for that busing to occur on site.
Thank you. We still have a motion, probably moved second on the floor. Ms. Christie, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Mr. Navarre?
Yes.
Mr. Porsche?
Yes.
7-4.
Motion passes. All right, now to the plan as amended. Any other questions, comments concerning that? Mr. Little?
I know we've had approved about 4 of these man camps throughout. Of these man camps that have been approved, we have one of them that, in their contract, they go one direction. Their man camp can almost handle everything that's on that end. Would we be out of line to try to do some stipulation that they do not infringe into their territory south of Sulphur?
Meaning that the board would limit their customer base?
Yes. That's what I don't know if that's out of line or not. It's just a question.
I think that the folks in Carlos regret that limitation. I don't know, from a company perspective, from what we're hearing, they don't want to be bound by those types of things.
Yes. Supply and demand.
But that was something that they put on themselves. We
Yes.
didn't- we-
Yeah,
You're correct.
and that's what I was going to say. That company actually put that burden on themselves, and we sort of transposed that onto when we were doing the conditions. I would say this: we have a need for temporary housing. The Alliance is keeping record of in the region in terms of the housing and how much housing is needed, how much is being filled. And the last report that came out, as y'all well know, there is still an unmet demand for temporary housing. And we are trying to fulfill some of that. And I know there's going to be some impact on folks in this parish. And we're trying to help mitigate some of that. But we have got to have some housing. We've got to have some temporary housing. What we don't want is that when we don't meet that unmet demand, that folks are living in neighborhoods, in rental units, and that's going to be an impact as well. So we felt like that these types of choices or housing choices, you know, early on, we felt that this was one of the ways to go to do that, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've been out there before these people bought the property, when it was a mobile home park, and it was a slum. If I'd guarantee just about every other trailer that had something to do with drugs. I have owned rental property myself. I've never, in the 20-something years that I own rental property, rented to someone from out of town and had a problem. Now, the local people, the ones that didn't want to work, I had problems with them collecting, making them get out, with them tearing up my property. I have never, the men that come down here to work, they come down here to work and they go, if they're off on the weekends, they go, I've got some of them that go all the way back to Laredo on the weekend. I don't know how the heck they do it, because by the time they get there, they got to turn around and come back, but they go see their families. And like Mr. Crane said, we need this. You know, I don't know where people expect it, anywhere but my backyard, but it's, you know, it's something we have to do, and it's going to be a temporary thing. That's all.
Thank you. Just as a housekeeping issue, I see Mr. Welsh, if I'm saying his name correctly. This was turned in after we read the agenda item. And of course, the rule says that the agenda item has to be read. Or once the agenda item is read, we can't accept any more blue cards. So I just want to make that note. We did receive another blue card, so I apologize, we can't accept his comments. Okay. Any other comments or questions by the board?
I just have one more question. The other night we had about industrial areas that they were going to be trying to put them in. Is this in one of those industrial areas that y'all were looking at?
Well, the front portion of the property is zoned industrially.
Mm-hmm.
So all that you would rezone is the back 28 acres,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would come back next month for the zoning exception on the full piece of property. So, yes and no.
Okay. I'm just...
All righty. Any other questions? Okay. We'll go ahead and take a roll vote, and what we're voting on is the case with the stipulation added for the security fencing. So, Ms. Christie, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
No.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Mr. Navarre?
Yes.
Mr. Porsche?
Yes.
6 for and 1 against.
Okay, so that has item 19 passing. Give a minute to let the room clear out.
Yeah, you can bring it up. You know, Keith, if you don't mind, I'd like to show of hands, but I think we against those that came out. Right, it's true. You have enough gumption. Come out here and sit near maybe. Not everybody wants to talk.
I figured that. I figured that there's no problem.
I was looking to see which one I was
Right.
saying. I appreciate your comment.
I said, Mr. Lambert.
We need to have.
We need it. The home can begin, and you know what? Once these things are big, you're gonna have kids that be growing up looking for a job. They can get a job.
All right, we're going to go ahead and resume. Thank you, everyone, for the patience. Case number 20. Take appropriate action on case RZ 03-013-16, a request by Jason S. Shapkoff to rezone from mixed residential R2 to light industrial I1 to recreational vehicle park, R, RVP, to allow recreational vehicle park 44 manufactured home spaces and 34 recreational vehicle spaces at 3618 Opelousas Street in Ward 3. I would entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Second. Moves, and Coach, Mr. Navarre. Yeah. Coach, Mr. Navarre.
I've been called a whole lot
second.
worse.
Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Mallard Junction area and encompasses nearly 10 acres. If approved, the park will have 2 dumpster locations, a playground, a management center, a restroom and shower facility, centralized mailboxes, and a storage area. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and that RV park model types are prohibited.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff presentation? Well, just for clarification, what are RV park models? What's that definition?
We had mentioned it last month. They're sort of Katrina cottages.
Okay, all right.
They look like cabins, but they're built to a temporary standard.
Okay, you just had to remind me, so, all right. The applicant doesn't have anything to add? Okay. Mr. Pierre?
My name is Dan Pierre, 442 Mitchell. I live in the neighborhood. I think you just showed a slide. One of the questions was, would all of the property that's been rezoned will be used for RV park? I think I just showed a slide about will all be used. The next question I have is the lighting for RV park. That property is not as deep as it is long, quite a few feet long. The lighting will it be lighting over the entire facility, where it'll be lit up? And then if it's going to be fenced in, what type fence are we going to use? I'm pretty sure you got stipulations for the drainage, being that it's in the parish. And if the fence is going to be what type fence it is, will it probably be maintained outside and just not so much on the inside? Will it be security? That's probably about 600-700 feet long, quite a bit of property, maybe about 160, 170 feet deep. Do the zoning board have any stipulations in place for a park, in a neighborhood? It's not too far from this facility, in place. Will it be something that you have to generate? Because there's going to be quite a few vehicle RVs and also stationary RVs. Will it be all fenced in and entrance gates, or will it just be totally open in the front?
All right. I think a lot of those questions the applicant probably needs to answer unless staff has some of those answers. I know one of the questions he had about the ordinance kind of did, but some of the other things seemed like about the design of the project.
Well, the site plan does show fencing. In the staff recommendation, we didn't stipulate that it had to be fenced, but we put in there that it had to be screened, which could be landscape or fencing or a combination. On the lighting, I think the developer might have to answer specific questions about how they plan to light it. All we say in the staff recommendation is that lights have to be oriented inward so they don't bother the neighbors. Is there anything else that?
You mentioned about security and maintaining like the right-of-way properties, fence lines.
But on Opelousas Street, it's just woods there. Man, that's all woods anyway. And if you're going to clear off some of the woods, you probably have to clear off all. Because in the front of Bunker Road, You know, I could see clearing that off, but on Opelousas Street, you know, if you decide to fence Bunker Road, I mean, and then leave Opelousas Street like it is, that's all woods. What they have to clear. If you're gonna clear out the property, it's got to be all the woods got to be cleared out. And if you're gonna put a fence, you got to fence the entire property in, side, front, and back.
I think they're
This is
indicating
kind of like
that.
the design here. That's Opelousas Street.
That's right.
They're indicating that on the site plan. If you look at the black line that has the X hatching, you know, around the perimeter, and there's a label that points to it, and it says fence. Now, again, they don't specify what type of fence that is, to my knowledge. I haven't seen that, whether that's a solid wooden fence or whether that's a hurricane fence or what, we don't know, but they do indicate that there is some sort of fencing around the perimeter of the property. And so our stipulation is that it will have to be screened in accordance with the ordinance. So if there's residential or something adjacent to it, there may have to be some screening, some privacy screening.
Right.
So that's why we stipulate that in the ordinance, because, and again, like Jennifer said, the developer may have some of those answers.
Portia, you had a comment, question?
Yeah, I wanted to point out, as Wes did, that, you know, it is showing a 30-foot buffer and then a fence. And so my question to the staff would be, if we approve this, is this what I'm seeing, is that what they have to put, or is there going to be some leeway there to say, okay, we have the 30-foot buffer, so we don't have to put the fence? That was just, are we approving this as per this site plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless there's some sort of technical or
Technical and-
engineering.
Right, okay.
Which
They
I
go
don't
out
know
there and
why
they
that would
find a
impact the
tree,
fence.
then they can't put a space in there if there's a engineering concern that they can't do it and they have to adjust
Right.
it, and I can consider that.
I don't know if we can put on the screen what I'm seeing here, but it clearly shows the buffer and then the fence going all the way
Show
around.
that right there. The red is the buffer.
Yeah, the red is the buffer.
This particular, yeah. This
The fence
particular
is right next to
20 feet.
drawing makes it really
As you said,
clear.
that's 20 feet.
Can't we stipulate?
So that'd be a 20 feet of just woods, and it's gonna leave it like that.
Okay, all right. I'm just curious, the applicant here? Okay, all right. That's okay, I just wondered if you're here, you can come up if you have any, are you complete, Mr. Pierre?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Applicant, you can come on up. State your name and address, please.
My name's Jason Shepkoff, 918 Verone Terrace in Leesville.
You have anything to add? You know, of course, he had a few questions and.
Okay. Chuck here worked for Myers and Associates, and they did the drawings for us. He could probably answer the questions better than I could. I can just tell you, we want to put the new manufactured homes in and the RV park, and it's going to be really a nice place.
Are the manufactured homes for ownership or rental?
It's going to be rental.
My name is Chuck Stutz. I'm an engineer with Meyer & Associates, 600 City Service Highway, Sulphur. The project site is going to be surrounded with a fence and also a buffer as shown on the drawings. I believe the buffer is actually a 20-foot buffer. The proposed fence would be a chain link fence. There was a question about lighting, I believe. The lighting would be along the streets. There's 2 streets running through the park. Typical street type lighting. Glad to entertain any other questions.
You mentioned also about security.
There is an office at the front of the facility, at the very front of the facility. Jason, will that be manned?
We're going to use a real estate company to actually manage everything. I mean, we're not going to do it ourselves or try to do it ourselves. So we're just going to have a real estate company do it all for us.
Is
Ms.
there going
Cobb?
to be an age limit on the trailers that you're putting in?
More than likely, they're going to be brand-new ones. We haven't really decided, but it's going to be a nice facility.
You're talking about the manufactured homes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the RVs are people just traveling
Correct.
over the
That'd be,
weekend or staying a week or whatever?
We're going to do yearly leases on the travel, on the mobile homes, and then the travel trailers will be monthly.
Any other questions? All right. Okay, that's, thank y'all. Any other questions by the board? Comments? Staff?
Is there any other opposition?
Say again?
Any other opposition?
It's on the blue card we received. Okay. Ms. Christie, roll call vote. Bless you.
Mr. Navarre,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Forte,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
Mr. Little,
Yes?
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and Ms. Dickerson.
Yes.
7-4.
Item passes. Case number 20 passes. Item number 21 has been withdrawn. Item number 20, no.
22.
Who's counting this? Going the wrong way.
22.
Yeah, well, whoever gave me this went the wrong way. So that's case number 22. That was all wrong. Okay. Case number 22, take appropriate action on case RZ 05-015-16, a request by Yule J. Simon Jr. to rezone from agriculture A1 to recreational vehicle park, RVP, to allow a recreational vehicle park 4 spaces at 5291 Alligator Park Road in Ward 5. Entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Dickerson.
Ms. Dickerson moved, Mr. Little seconded, Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Starks area and encompasses 2.5 acres. Currently on the property is the petitioner's home, which would remain on site. If approved, the petitioner plans to provide a dumpster and additional landscaping for the RV park. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that a drainage impact analysis may be required, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and that RV park model types are prohibited.
Okay, thank you. Is there any, anything to add from the applicant? Okay, any blue cards? No blue cards on this one. Any questions or comments by the board? All right, being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, case number 22 passes. Case number 23, take appropriate action on case RZ 03-016-16, a request by Gibson Smith to rezone from manufactured home park, RMHP, to recreational vehicle park, RVP, to allow a recreational vehicle park 24 spaces at 6505 Nelson Road in Ward 3. Entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Wallace, I am, Ms. Cobb, and Mr. Porche, second. All in favor? Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in South Lake Charles and encompasses 2.26 acres within an existing manufactured home park. The existing park includes 120 manufactured home spaces and 12 RV spaces, all of which were approved prior to adoption of the new RV park classification. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code, and that RV park model types are prohibited.
All right, thank you. Would the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? Okay, thank you. Any blue cards? Okay, questions or comments by the board? All right, being none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, case passes. Case number 24, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-017-16, a request by Cole Langford LLC to rezone from manufactured home park RMHP to recreational vehicle park RRVP to allow a recreational vehicle park 168 total spaces at 1207 Ravier Road in Ward 4. Entertain a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Ms. Cobb, and Mr. Porsche seconds it. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Sulphur and encompasses 14.5 acres. The property is currently used as a manufactured home park with 43 spaces. If approved, 4 of the existing spaces will remain for manufactured homes, and 164 spaces will be developed for recreational vehicles. The existing concrete drives and bathhouse will remain. The proposed additional drives will be hard surfaced as well. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that a drainage impact analysis and a traffic impact analysis may be required, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the code, and that RV park model types are prohibited.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything that the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation?
Hi, my name is Lisa Langford. I live at 806 Inwood Forest Boulevard in Sulphur, Louisiana. I would like to add that we just want to put where the vacant lots are, we want the opportunity to be able to put RVs in there. So we're not going to try to get anybody to leave or anything like that. We just want the opportunity to be able to integrate RVs in with the mobile homes at the mobile home park. So, because we have a few empty spots out there right now, and we'd like to put RVs in there. So.
Any questions for Ms. Langford? Okay, thank you, Ms. Langford.
All righty, thank you.
We have 2 additional cards. One doesn't state whether for and against, and the other is against. So I'll call Ms. Melissa Buchanan.
Okay, I would like to add that I filled out a card because
Yeah,
this is my first rodeo.
That's
so.
no problem at all. We got you. Thank you.
Hi, Melissa Buchanan. My temporary address is 1201 Ravia Road, Sulphur, Louisiana. My permanent address is 2065 North Ennis Creek Road in Snyder, Texas. We are with Custom Touch Village. We are current leasing of the Hidden Ponds RV Park. I have a question regarding the stipulation restricting park model units in the RV parks as of such. And you did ask a question. I wanted to share with you some pictures I have. That's the pictures of our ones that are located on Douglas Parkway. This is a picture of a traditional RV park, and there are some questions about why the restriction. The RV park model actually exceeds the standard RV standards. We have egress windows in both bedrooms. If there's a 2-bedroom, we have fire extinguishers. We have wired-in fire alarms that are battery backed up. There's some question as to why the restriction on the park model units.
Staff?
Well, the state fire marshal has gotten involved in discussions over the park model use. I believe that he feels, and Mr. Crane's had specific conversations with the state fire marshal, but I believe that he feels that when folks live in these units on more of a permanent, extended basis, that they should not be allowed for that use because they're built to a recreational vehicle standard. But if you'd like, Mr. Crane could probably go into more detail.
And we have met with the state fire marshal as recently as last Friday. So I do have information on that, and we are aware of that. We are in discussions with them. However, our point on that is that for the sake of, we just approved someone to rent out RVs. The RV park that was just approved from this board here was going to have month-to-month RV rentals. There are also RVs that are located within the state that are definitely permanent. This come from a local Lake Charles area. That unit's been there 7 years. There are multiple places, and our concern is we do have a very high-quality product, and anyone that's viewed it has been extremely pleased with it. It's very eye-pleasing, and it is very standard. We are willing to do whatever we need to do on our end to make you feel more comfortable with it. If it's tying it down makes you feel more comfortable, if it's leaving it mobile, that makes you feel more comfortable, whichever that is. But there is a place for this. We can help.
Clarify, okay, so you're selling these, you're the company that
We
sells-
bring these, we have leased 100 RV spaces from Hidden Ponds, which is a portion of the same ownership as this. And I
One of the
noticed
talk
that
with
all
Miss-
of
with
these-
Miss Lisa Langford.
Lisa Langford's
Okay,
bunch.
all right.
There, and we have 47, 49 of those existing. Part of them are on Begless Parkway. And we have, since
Are they
we
in a
brought.
park now, they're just
They're in a
staged?
park. There
Okay.
are people staying in them
Okay,
right now.
all right.
We did have a visit from the enforcement initially, questioning whether or not they were RVs, because they are different. They don't look like a traditional RV. And they came and inspected our stamps. They are approved through a third-party inspection process that is ANSI 119.5, which is the qualification for park models. We go through a stringent, we had to have our factory approved for that process. So it's not like park models used to be. Park models used to be, you could build anything at home, pull it around, put it in a park. That's not what we do. Ours are approved units. The fire marshal does have a question with this. His question also will affect cabins. It will affect RVs. We asked the question when in his office. If we had a whole bunch of traditional RVs and we brought them in and we were doing this, would you have a problem with this? Yes. So the question is not just with the park models. The question is having a temporary product that is used on a more permanent basis. But the question is, what is temporary and what is permanent? We have tens of thousands of people coming into this area that are going to be here temporary or permanent. Which way are you going to look at it? They're going to be here for anywhere from a few days, few months, to a few years. And they're going to be coming in groves. They're going to be pulling their own RVs. They're going to be looking for places to leave. And we can honestly help with this problem.
All right, thank you, okay. Mr. Crane.
I just want to, and I think I've spoken to y'all.
You have talked to me on the phone several times.
I told you that.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
Definitely.
And very nice. I appreciate y'all being here tonight. And we have discussed these units. And when we were first made aware of it, this was in Mr. Langford's Hidden Oaks Pond Park, which this board had approved for RVs. And we were sent a photograph, and they revealed what they were, and I was not sure how to really treat them. And so I did request, I said, I need something that indicates that they are an RV. And I think that was produced, the ANSI standard RV.
That's what that is.
And so I'm not familiar with RVs myself, so I didn't know whether it was a park model or whatever. I just knew it was not a traditional RV that you pull with a fifth wheel or something like that. So even though they're very nice, I mean, the look of these are very nice, and I'm sure they're well built, there's still some question as to whether or not they would meet our ordinance, the parish ordinance. I have not done anything, I have not cited them or anything like that at this time, because the fire marshal did step in. And the fire marshal pursued this and has issued a citation at this time. And I have talked to the fire marshal, and they are working through that. And I think, again, they have had a meeting. And I've just sort of held off until we know for certain how this is going to be treated. That's why we had placed this. And I talked to the fire marshal, and he said that he could not approve the park model RV simply because they are being lived in for a longer period of time. And so they would either need to meet the IRC, the International Residential Code, or the IBC, the International Building Code, which is what the fire marshal reviews for. And so That's where we are right now. That's why we've indicated, we know that there's a citation on these.
There's no citation on it. It's actually to Mr. Langford, not to us. Just to clarify that.
It's on, I think it's the property.
Yes, it's to the property owner.
It's to the property owner. But it's in.
It is in relation
it's
to
in
our
relation
units.
to these.
Yes, sir.
And so that's sort of where it stands right now. And again, this ordinance, in terms of the definition of what an RV is, there's about 4 or 5 different things in there that it lists of what an RV is. One of those being that it can't be on the site for any longer than 180 days. Secondly, it has to be pulled by a light-duty truck. And it either has to be for camping, recreational, or something like that. So there's some question as to whether or not these really meet those requirements. And again, I have not pursued that at this time until there's clarification, I think, from the fire marshal. And so that's where we stand right now.
Mr. President, there is, we have met, like I said, with the fire marshal. Part of the question is, originally, we feel like we don't even fall underneath the jurisdiction of the state fire marshal. We feel like we should be underneath parish's jurisdiction because we limit our occupancy to 1 family or 2 individuals. We don't go, we are very strict about that. We meet all the setbacks. They're not tied together. They're individual units, just like an individual RV would be. And there are lots and lots of people coming to the area that are going to be bringing their own RV. And if you're going to have to enforce that you have to be there less than 6 months, that's going to apply to a lot of people in a lot of circumstances over the coming years. And literally, we really just want to come in and help. We feel the gap based on this Workers Village that was just presented. That's a very reputable company. They're going to do a very good job for you. We're familiar with them. They do a contract type basis. We deal with the individuals. We fill that gap. And we have a very good quality product to do that.
And I don't dispute that. There is an issue on the state level that has to be cleared up before we can say that the fire marshals may say throughout the state of Louisiana that these aren't allowed. We can't approve that locally until he makes that determination. And I want to make sure that y'all understand that that's on the state level. It's still not clear. And there has not been that determination. I think they're working through that right now, but it still is not clear. So I just want to make that clear to y'all.
Just the comment and the stipulation about the 180 days turning, I think that's throwing out a big net as far as to turn them down. And I'm not wanting to get into real murky waters here, but if an RV sits there for 180 days, then it's become permanent, and then does it need to move? But the other is just a general comment real quick. I don't know if y'all have seen the new, I don't know if it's a fad or trend, but these tiny homes. Have y'all seen that?
Yes.
That it's very much similar construction but smaller, and they're in these RV parks nationwide. It's a big thing. So the parish, we may try to get on the front end of this thing.
Well, and keep in mind the tiny homes, those are being built to the IRC, the International Residential Code.
Gotcha.
Okay. This is a little bit different. This is a little bit different code than what they are building these to. They're building these to that ANSI standard RV park model.
Makes sense.
That's the gray area.
Yep.
We would be glad and invite anyone to come inspect them or inspect our factory or anything like that. And I understand Mr. Crane's position. I understand it's a sticky position. The main thing is no one really understands. There's 2 roads when you come out of the fire marshal's office. One is industrial, IBC code. One is residential. And for whatever reason, because this hasn't come up before, this code does not fit in either category. To me, that is personally how I view that there is a problem. It really doesn't fit into either category. RV parks do not fall in any one of those categories. Therefore, we have a product, just like our traditional, we're an RV product in an RV park. No different than a different type of RV. Only thing is we're an upscale RV.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Rush, Marshall.
How you doing, Mr. Guillory? My name's Russ Marshall. I live at 1207 Ravier Road, Lot 73. You've already moved in these mobile park home things, whatever they want to call them, an RV. I don't see where you call it an RV. The reason why they're calling it an RV is because they had a tongue on it, because they moved it in. It can be replaced and turned in. It doesn't look like an RV. It looks like a little bitty house. Fire marshal thing, I'm not a pro at anything. Where's your back door? Where do you get out? What do you do when electricity goes out and you have electronic locks on that door and you can't get out? You got to go through a window. There's a big air conditioning unit sitting on the very front of it. And where they parked them at, where I live at, this is the back of a truck, okay? In a regular mobile home. It's been living there for 15 years or 10 years or 6 years or whatever. People working real hard, trying to make ends meet. This is the side of another vehicle parked alongside of it. I got this much room to drive through there, and I have to pull over and let this person go by all the time. I get yelled at. There's 10 miles an hour down through there. There's children that play out there. I'm all for, industrial. I'm really all for it. Where I work, we do stuff that goes around the world. But I don't see it going in and sitting alongside a mobile home. And then they telling us that they're not going to move us out. Where I've heard that when a mobile home moves out, they're going to run them side by side in that one spot. So what I'm asking is, if you're not going to move us out, I want a legal document signed, affidavit, telling each person that lives in that mobile. I'm still paying for my mobile home when I first moved there. $40,000 I've been paying on it. So if they're going to not move me out, I want a signed document saying, hey, you can't move me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Les Farnham, police jury.
Good afternoon. I need an address again.
You good? We know you.
Okay.
We know where to find you.
I guess the whole issue is that I've got an RV, conventional RV. I pull it up and down the road, go camping all the time. I've never seen one of these on the highway. Our ordinance clearly states that it has to be pulled by a light-duty truck. These things require a wide load permit and a special vehicle to pull them. They're set up on permanent blocks. I don't doubt that they're a wonderful product. They really are. And there's a place probably for them. We just don't have a zoning that allows them. That's probably it in a nutshell. There probably could be maybe another zoning that we do allow these. The problem with the situation that Mr. Marshall was talking about is that a mobile home park cannot have an RV in it, but an RV park can have both in it. So one is more restrictive than the other, and I think what they're trying to do is move it down to where they can coexist in the same facility. So I don't really have a problem with the fact that they do want to do that. It's right next to an RV park that's been in existence probably as long as I've been alive. And but the problem is that our ordinance does not allow this, period. I mean, there's just no way around it. So I don't know that we can exclude the restriction because there's just no way to legally do it according to our ordinance.
Go ahead, Mr.
Can I add too, and right now, again, we have to be careful because the state has intervened into this matter. And if the state says that these are not permitted in the state of Louisiana, we can't even pass an ordinance that would allow for this type of unit to be here. That's what we have to be concerned with. So that's why I haven't done anything in terms of until the state has really said for sure what they're going to, what the decision will be.
Certainly. All right. Thank you.
I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in, so, thank you.
Thank you.
President, I would like to respond if I might to 2 things that were brought up.
Yeah, 'cause you're not the applicant. The applicant could. You could. So Ms.
The
Lamprey.
applicant has about 1 minute left. And I consider both of the applicants.
You do? Okay, all right, well, that's fine.
As far as the fire safety, the lock keypads on the locks, they're, from the inside, you don't have to do anything to get out. It's automatic open. As far as, we have egress windows, which is your fire safety windows that you exit on. As far as a light-duty truck, there are RVs located throughout this parish and throughout the state. If you have a fifth wheel or anything of a newer standard, you cannot pull it with the light-duty truck, which is a half-ton pickup. That's considered a light-duty truck. And if you go to buy one, they won't even let you pull it off the lot because it's not regarded. So that ordinance was made back when camping trailers were very, very small. So that does not apply in this case. As far as the part models and things like that, I would agree. I understand completely your position. It's just that I hate to see something put on the parishes in that may very well change. There are part models at multiple places within this region. Cypress Bend out on the interstate. Coshada has 100 of them on their property out there. Louisiana would be one of the only states that I recall, and I've done a lot of research on this, that would outlaw part models. So it's something that's going to be a hard thing to get done, I would think. There are lots of industry standards standing behind us. RBIA, which is a recreational industry association, standing behind that. I just hate to see the parish put a stipulation because, and truly, in all honesty, it ought to be falling back on because we are not occupying more than 1 or 2 families in these units.
All right, thank you. All right, at a time or?
Their time is done.
Okay.
The
Go ahead. What?
Nobody's asked to amend anything to take off the restriction for the part model.
Right.
I mean, we're kind of outside of the issue of allowing
We're in the weeds.
the RV
We're
in the existing park, which is the only request before you.
But we can't override a state law.
We can't, I mean, that, you know, that not even.
I would definitely suggest that you do not. But I mean, nobody has asked to even, you know, it's not an issue before you. If somebody wants to make a motion, we can talk about whether or not it's a good thing to do, but we are excluding those for a reason, and right now it's a top-down reason. So if it comes from the state that we're allowed to do it, then we can go back and we can review these issues. If it comes down that we're not allowed, then it doesn't matter what we do. We have to recognize that.
These are not RVs. They're more like small mobile homes,
Exactly, sir. Thank you.
you know.
But that's still not what we're looking at.
But it's not
tonight.
even, it's not even before you right
They
now.
need to get,
Yeah,
they
but
need
that's
to
not
get them
even
with.
before
This zoning request.
Reclassified as a small
Yeah.
manufactured
We
home.
can do that another time. Okay, right now, our issue is to rezone from a manufactured home park to recreational vehicle park, correct?
That's correct.
All right, okay.
I have a question for the
Yes, sir.
staff in
Go ahead.
regards to RV parks. There's some items that belong in there, in RV parks that, in the ordinance, that they have to have bathhouses. Is that something that's in an RV ordinance that they have to provide certain items in there?
Right now, they do have to provide a service building, but last month and later on your agenda, we talked about how the plumbing code changed at the beginning of the year. So now, according to the state, there is a waiver that can be requested on the service building. So later on in the agenda, we'll ask you to modify the ordinance to reflect that.
Because my question was, if we're going to turn this into an RV park, does that fall underneath that standard? They may already have that in there. I mean, at this particular site, they may have all that already there. And I was just asking.
They do, they already have.
They already
one.
have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they have it, Mr. Will.
All right, are there any more questions, comments? All right, Ms. Chris, do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Forshey,
Yes.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
Mr. Little,
No.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
Yes.
5 for, 2 against.
All right, it passes. Case number 25. Take appropriate action on case RZ 03018-16, request by Bernadette Manuel to rezone from agricultural A1 to recreational vehicle park, or RVP, to allow a recreational vehicle park 19 spaces in the 3,000 block of Highway 3059 in Ward 3. Entertain a motion to approve with stipulations.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Coach Williams, seconded by Mr. Porche. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Old Town area and encompasses 2 acres. In 2006, the board and the police jury rezoned this property for a manufactured home park. The following year, the rezoning was rescinded at the request of the property owner since the development plans were put on hold. If the current request is approved, the petitioner will sell the land to John Carter, who will develop the proposed park. The park will include an office, bathing and laundry facilities, dumpsters, and a recreational area. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion, that permitting is subject to DOTD approval, that a DIA and a TIA may be required, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the code, and that RV park model types are prohibited.
All right, thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add? All right, thank you. Any blue cards?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions, comments by the board? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we pass. Case number 26, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-019-16. A request by Harper Real Estate LLC to rezone from light industrial I-1 to recreational vehicle park, or RVP, to allow a recreational vehicle park, 145 spaces at 958 Rabiel Road in Ward 4. I need a motion to approve stipulations.
So moved.
Coach Williams moved. I need a second.
Second.
Ms. Cobb seconded. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Sulphur and encompasses over 12 acres. In 2013, this property was rezoned to light industrial to accommodate an industrial park. Since that time, the property has changed ownership. The current owners will develop the proposed RV park, which will include a fenced dumpster, an office, and laundry facilities. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion, that a DIA and a TIA may be required, that the use must be screened in accordance with Section 26-50 of the code, and that RV park model types are prohibited. And before we move on, I wanted to point out that I received a letter before the meeting started from the previous owner who requested the industrial zoning. I'll pass it around, but basically it states that if he would have known that this would have been the future use of the property, he likely wouldn't have sold it.
He would not have sold it.
Would not have.
All right. Does the applicant have anything to add to staff's presentation? Okay, thank you. We do have one card, Mr. Richard Wesley Sr. Going once, going twice. All righty. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, case passes. Case number 26, take appropriate action on a request by Calhoun Parish Division of Planning and Development. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, 27. Take appropriate action on a request by Calhoun Parish Division of Planning and Development on proposed amendments to Chapter 26 of the Calhoun Parish Code of Ordinances. Entertain a motion to approve. Second. Ms.
Second.
Porche and Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
I have about a 10-minute PowerPoint.
Oh, Lord.
No, I'm joking.
You got a few people have to use the restroom up here.
You are joking.
We're gonna put her on the clock.
Recess, please.
Now, I do have this for you on your computer, and I'll just run through very quickly, I promise. At last month's meeting, I gave an overview of the proposed amendments to the Zoning and Development Code. At this meeting, we're asking for a formal recommendation to be given to the police jury, which will take action Thursday night. The first amendment relates to recreational vehicle park. As we mentioned earlier, the state plumbing code has changed, so now there is a waiver that's available on the service buildings. There are specific situations where that's allowed, when the RVs are temporary, when they have independent holding tanks, and when they're tied to employment or hardship purposes. So what we'd like to do is put in the code where that waiver is available with a written request. Next, the existing code does not specify who can request an appeal to the police jury on a preliminary subdivision approval. The state enabling legislation says that the person that's aggrieved has to go to state district court. So what we're proposing is an amendment that would mirror the state legislation. In RM multifamily zoning, modular homes are not allowed by right or by zoning exception. We feel these homes are built to a similar code as a stick-built home and that they should be treated similarly. So this proposal adds modular homes as a permitted use in that zoning. The existing code allows construction debris landfills by exception in agricultural zoning, but in industrial zoning, where you would think they would belong, you have to rezone the property to I2R, which is heavy industrial restricted. So this proposal states that you could have construction debris landfill, solid waste site is the technical name, as an exception in I2 and I1 zoning. And we feel like it's a good compromise because the public can still come to a hearing and have their say in the matter. Our current code calls for screening when a new RV park or manufactured home park abuts a residential use. For clarity, we are proposing that this screening requirement does not apply when the abutting residential use is an existing RV or manufactured home park. One of the ones that we had on Ravier, it wouldn't make sense for them to have to screen next door to the same use. Another item included for clarity deals with the measurement of subdivision signs. The code states that the signs can be no taller than 10 feet. So our proposal clarifies that the measurement would include ornamental decoration. For all three overlay districts, Nelson Lake and Ward 1, we are requesting a formal public notification requirement for meetings of the overlay review teams. The notification proposed is consistent with what's required for these meetings, which is notice in the official journal at least 10 days in advance of the meeting. This is to ensure that the review team meetings have the same level of transparency as regular meetings. Finally, the Nelson and Lake overlay review teams include 2 planning and zoning board members, 2 police jurors, and the director as decision makers. The staff feels that the director should not be a voting member of these groups, as it is the director that makes the recommendation to the group. Therefore, this proposal replaces the director with an additional juror on each of the review teams. So do you have any questions?
A lot of cleanup.
Any questions or comments by the board to the applicant?
Great.
It sounds good. Do we vote to approve this?
I make them.
Yes, you need to make a motion.
Well, it's already been moved and seconded.
Yeah, that's already been.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. Case number 28. The next item on the agenda is to advise the police jury took the following action on March 24th, 2016, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from the March 22nd, 2016 meeting. The applicant Cross Diversified on North Perkins Ferry Road was passed, police jury upheld. AMAC LLC in Toomey Road passed, police jury upheld. Roger Miller, I-10 Mobile Village Road passed, police jury upheld. Robert Miller Electrical, I-10 Mobile Village passed, upheld. Electrical Contracting, Broad Street passed, upheld. Lopez at Trina Lane passed, it was upheld. Inwood Forest, South Begley's Parkway, passed. It was upheld. The planning study, Carolyn Street and Galen Drive, passed. It was upheld. Planning and Development, Chapter 26, passed. It was upheld. Item number 29, I would like to advise that the next regularly scheduled planning and zoning meeting will be held Tuesday, May 17, 2016, in the Police Jury Meeting Room. Item number 30 is adjournment. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been probably moved and seconded by Ms. Carvin, Coach. And we ready to go. Thank you.
Wes?
Yay.